Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Sabrar, and welcome to the Bass Pursuit. All right, hold on. Let's pause the intro. I don't want to waste your guys' time today. This is going to be a quick episode of the Bass Pursuit. All right, guys, now I'm going to get into why this is going to be a shorter episode of the Bass Pursuit shortly, but let's at least start by setting the stage for my recent tournament at Camp Far West. So, Camp Far West, it's a lake that I actually have a decent amount of experience on, and most of the times that I've been there, I've actually done pretty well. Problem is, the same can't be said for this month. I don't know what it is. I don't know why the lake is fishing the way that it is right now, but I pre-fished 2 weeks before, couldn't even get a limit after 8 hours. My partner, who, by the way, I'd never fished with until this tournament, went the day before the tournament and completely blanked after about 8 hours himself. So, I was not optimistic. And after talking to a few other of the competitors who had pre-fished as well, and talking to my dad, who was also going to be fishing with somebody else, nobody seemed to be on him. Now, the reason this is going to be a shorter episode, I don't have any footage. So it turns out my GoPro died at about noon during this tournament. Now, in most tournaments, I'd be able to make something out of that footage, okay? That's still 5 hours of tournament fishing, right? Problem is, I didn't get my first bite until 2:15 in the afternoon. I think I've got a clip of me catching like one fish that was maybe 7 inches long. And that's it. And it's not even worth putting in here. I think I already deleted it. I think I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. But from 2:15 to 3 o'clock, after catching no keepers for 7 hours and 15 minutes, I found 3 keepers, which was good enough for third place. So I feel like I have to make an episode on it. And I promised myself I would make an episode no matter what happened. So here we go. Even though I don't have footage, I am going to show you some topographical maps of the area that I went to find these 3 keepers after finding them nowhere else on the lake. And I'm going to explain why I think this area was so good. And it's something that I think will really help you guys potentially learn, to find these nuances in your bodies of water. And I think it's still going to be a great learning experience. So please stick around for this. I promise there is going to be something to get out of it. So I'm going to sum up the first 7 hours and 15 minutes of the tournament in about 30 seconds right now. We fished the dam, island tops, rock piles, shallow flats, up the river where there's current, main lake points, up the river in trees, spawning flats. I mean, we burned gas on such a small lake. It shouldn't happen that way, but we couldn't find anything. We had a couple bites here and there, broke off a fish, and caught one little dink. And that was it for 7 hours and 15 minutes. So we were basically at a loss at this point. All right, guys, so here you have it. This is the topo map. I am just doing this from my phone, so bear with me. But I did want to show you guys this topo map. This is the One Boat app from Humminbird. As you can see, I've already got some waypoints marked, places that I caught fish. So this is Camp Far West. And the one that I want you to look at more than anything is obviously titled Best Timber Ever. So initially, we were fishing this top section up here. Now, the reason we were fishing this top section is because it seemed more like a spawning flat. Since that water came up and the water temperature came up as well, we figured they'd be back in those pockets. Didn't get anything, and with 45 minutes left, we were going to make a run all the way down the lake to another spot that I had, but I had this marked. Before I ever put Best Timber Ever on there, I had this thing marked. It's kind of a secondary long tapering point off of a spawning flat. If they weren't spawning, they were definitely pre-spawn. So I looked at my partner. I said, hey, let's give this a few casts. At least we're right here. We're on the way. let's give it a few casts, see what happens. And this is where we were actually able to find him. So we got on this spot out on the kind of the tip of it, more towards this deeper section where it starts to drop off. But we were basically on top. This is a little bit inaccurate. It was about 8 to 9 feet at the apex. And that's kind of where we were fishing, on the top of it. And sure enough, he's on the front. I'm running from the back, just kind of fan casting a drop shot around, looking around, trying to see what we can do. And all of a sudden he goes, hey, there's one on live scope, 20 foot out, straight ahead of the boat. I was like, oh, really? I throw the drop shot out at him. And sure enough, hits the bottom, and I'm like, man, I gotta be right where that fish was. Donk. All of a sudden, boom. I'm on. We get the first keeper in the boat. And I've never been so ecstatic for a 1.5-pound bass in my life. I was like, oh my God, we got one. We're not going into the weigh-in skunked. This is great. So then he says, hey, take over on the front. You seem to have that drop shot dialed. Run around here. Let's see if we can find more. Well, sure enough, I start looking around and I finally notice something different. So this lake is filled with trees, but the trees that are in this lake, for the most part, are full trees. They have leaves, they have branches, they are full on trees under the water, and the fish were not on them. But when we were going around this point a little bit, that's when I noticed something specific when I was looking at live scope. I looked out, and about 50, 60 feet in front of me were just single sticks coming up. They were about 6 to 8 feet tall, almost touching the surface, but they were single sticks, not a branch on them, not a leaf on them, just straight standing timber. But as soon as I saw that, I was thinking to myself, man, I have not seen timber that looked like that in this entire lake. And so I made one cast way out right into the trees, or the standing timber, I guess. And sure enough, as soon as it hits bottom, I reel up my slack, boom, I get smacked. Missed him the first time, let it go right back down, jigged it a couple times, all of a sudden, thunk, hits it again. Set the hook, gets me wrapped around a branch. I end up getting him out of the sticks and reel him in, and I'm like, dude, this was the something different I've been looking for. It's something so nuanced, because I'd been fishing trees all day, but that was a different kind of tree. It was standing timber, and it was only in about a 10 by 10 foot area. It was the smallest little thing. If you weren't actively scoping or scanning that area, you would have missed it. You would have completely missed it. So I ended up catching keeper number 2, kept going around, couldn't get anything out of that patch, tried to expand on that patch, didn't find anything, found a few isolated stumps, few isolated pieces of structure that I fished, and didn't really find anything. Finally made one more loop back around to that same spot of just the standing timber, and sure enough, as soon as I made that pass, I saw it about 70 feet out, through the drop shot right into it, made 2 bounces with it, got hit again, 3.5 pounder. It was the second big fish of the tournament, and it anchored our 3 fish to get us to 5.5 pounds. I know, unbelievable, 5.5 pounds. But it was enough for third, and only one team found a limit. One team found 4 fish, and one team found 3 fish, which was us. And I know I've said this before, but this is a perfect example again. Another key lesson in tournament fishing is never give up. I know a lot of casual and even tournament anglers that if they didn't get a keeper in the boat after 7 hours and 15 minutes, they would have given up. They would have given up completely on the entire thing. They would have scrapped the day. They would have said, screw it, I'm going home. I just want to go home and be in the warm, or the cold, I guess, in this case, and relax. But you know what? Me, I was never giving up. I knew we hadn't had any fish, but that wasn't going to stop me from experimenting with new baits, experimenting with new spots, trying to figure something out to put this puzzle together, because there's fish somewhere. If there's one thing I've learned in tournament fishing, there are fish somewhere. Someone is going to find something. So this was a perfect example. It took me 7 hours and 15 minutes, but I finally found the one piece of structure that they were sitting on and were ready to bite on, and we took advantage of it and ended up pulling it out a top 3. But that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys learned something, being able to actually see that topographic map and actually listening to the nuances that I found. I hope it helps you guys in your lake to find the nuances that might help you on tougher days. So appreciate you guys sticking around. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm gonna have more tournaments coming up at the end of the month, so stay tuned for that. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.